What is going on, everyone? My name is Jason, and this is 1 month with the iPhone 11. So believe it or not, from the moment I got the iPhone 11 in my hands, I was confident that this was going to be a hit phone. Sure, it doesn't have all the super premium flagship qualities, and there are some that would argue that certain hardware choices here are straight up laughable in late 2019, but I gotta say, there were some aspects of the iPhone 11 that immediately stood out to me when I first got it, and after a month of using it, I feel as though Apple really nailed it out of the park in terms of creating the Goldilocks iPhone. That is an iPhone that would suit anyone that decided to pick it up. And before I get slaughtered in the comments, I understand that not everyone is going to like the iPhone 11. And that's totally fine, everyone's open to their own opinion. But what I mean by my last comment, in comparison to previous iterations that came before it, this really is to me the most well-rounded and value-packed iPhone Apple has ever built. Let me explain why. Now before we get into the review, if you're into checking out the latest consumer tech products before you buy them, or if you're just a tech head like me, I make a video like this every single week, so make sure that you hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell icon so you can be the first to know when a new JSL review is out and you don't miss anything. And real quick, I know when it comes to certain iPhone models, there are some die-hard loyalists out there. So curious to know what you guys think is the best model iPhone ever made. I'm gonna guess people are gonna say the iPhone 6 or 6S, but let me know in the comments. Interested to see which iPhone gets the most love. Okay, first off, I wanna talk about the iPhone 11's physical design and my impressions on it over the past month. It's really easy to put this phone in some kind of sub-premium category from a physical design standpoint, especially when you compare it to the iPhone 11 Pro, but let's break this down. The iPhone 11 has a beautiful glass-on-glass design. It comes in a variety of really eye-catching colors like this gorgeous Project Red one I have here. The glass seamlessly melts into the aluminum body, and the now centered logo with no branding gives it an ultra-clean look, and the phone feels outstanding in the hand. And overall, it's extremely well executed. It has virtually all the same physical design elements of, I'd say, about 98% of flagships available today. Sure, it doesn't use stainless steel like the Pro does, and it doesn't have the new frosted matte glass finish, but to say that the iPhone 11 isn't premium would be inaccurate to say the least. Not only is it physically very well put together, it looks and feels like a high-end luxury phone. And I've thoroughly enjoyed going back and forth between this and the Pro without ever feeling there's a noticeable dip in quality when it comes to build material. The one gripe I have with this phone, the more I use it, is the camera housing. I'm not sure why Apple decided to go with this box design, as the iPhone 11 only has 2 lenses. I think it would have looked way more clean if it implemented the vertical housing used in previous models. It just seems gratuitous going with this design choice. But aside from that, I've thoroughly been impressed with the iPhone 11, and it rightfully belongs in the flagship category when it comes to build and physical design. So that statement may be easier for folks to accept, but when it comes to the iPhone 11's display, that's a much more difficult pill to swallow. And look, I'm going to be transparent and say that this is definitely not a flagship level display by any means. It's an LCD display with a sub 1080p resolution, leagues behind the Super HD OLED panels that are used on almost all the top-end phones today. But here's the thing, given the dimensions of the phone, are you going to notice a night and day difference in quality on the iPhone 11's display? And the answer is probably not. In fact, I would argue that majority of consumers won't have a clue that it's a quote-unquote mid-tier display. And that's because the display that Apple put together here is actually really nice. It's super bright, the colors are vibrant and accurate, and HD content still comes off super sharp and pleasing to the eyes. And after using this phone for a month, I've never had a moment in which I felt as though the display in the iPhone 11 led to a poorer user experience in comparison to me using something like the iPhone Pro. So in a way, I feel as though Apple found the sweet spot in terms of how far you could push its display specs down before having a noticeable degradation in quality, which in turn allows them to save a lot on costs while having a minimal impact on user experience for most. Now I will say the one thing that did irk me at times with this display is the larger bezels that it has in comparison to the iPhone Pro. I probably notice them more often because I switch between both phones regularly, and at the end of the day I do prefer the more immersive OLED display in the Pro, but if I don't have both phones side by side, my annoyance with the slightly larger bezel goes away about after 2 minutes of using the phone, so it's not a deal breaker by any means. All in all, I know some people are never going to be able to accept a display like this on any phone based on specs alone, but I think we all need to chill out a bit when it comes to screen resolutions on smartphones. If this were a 50-inch TV we were talking about, no doubt doubt I would rip it to shreds. But with the display on the iPhone 11 coming in at just 6.1 inches, you're really not going to notice a big difference when you compare it to other similar sized phones, even if they are rocking a much more spec'd out display. So in that regard, I think the display on the iPhone 11 is a big win. Okay, next, let's talk about how the phone has held up in terms of performance. And unsurprisingly, the answer is extremely well. And that's to be expected as the components powering the iPhone 11 are extremely close, or in many cases exactly the same as the ones powering the iPhone Pros. I mean, the fact that this phone has the same brand new, beastly Apple A13 Bionic chip makes this one of the biggest selling points of the 11, as you're going to get the same ultra-fast, ultra-smooth performance when it comes to UI navigation, app loading, playing games, etc. You're also going to be able to take advantage of the new spec-intensive features like the improved Smart HDR, Deep Fusion, and Night Mode on the iPhone 11's cameras. Battery life on the iPhone 11 has been outstanding as well, living up to the high standard that was set on the stellar battery life of the iPhone XR, given you're not going to get the same insane 4 to 5 extra hours that the Pros have, but I've never run into any issues getting through a day of heavy usage on a single charge. And though it's still super annoying that the phone doesn't come with a quick charger in the box, I'm just glad it supports fast charging for quick re-ups on the battery. I mean, there's really no compromise whatsoever here when it comes to performance, and given the significant price differential, I really don't think anyone would have given Apple too much heartburn if they decided to use something older like the A12 Bionic chip to power the 11, which would have still performed splendidly and been totally fine. So the fact that you're getting one of the most powerful smartphone processors available today on a phone priced this way is kind of a big deal. Okay, last, I want to talk about how it's been using the iPhone 11's cameras. And I think a good place to start is to talk about the addition of the wide-angle lens. So first of all, I am so glad that Apple decided to implement this instead of the zoom lens. Nothing particularly against the zoom, but after having it on previous phones, I realized that I almost never used it. The wide-angle lens, on the other hand, is way more useful in my opinion, and not only have I been using it regularly, I'm having a lot of fun with it too. I love being able to grab more in the frame, especially when taking landscape shots, and the images overall look pretty incredible. Color accuracy has always been Apple's differentiator, but Apple really stepped it up with its dynamic range. You get some outstanding looking photos that don't come off overprocessed or artificially enhanced, and even the software tricks it has up its sleeve like portrait mode does a really good job of making the images look as though they're shot by a legitimate DSLR. The enhanced Smart HDR and Deep Fusion technology that the cameras are using really makes it difficult to take a bad photo, even in tough lighting conditions. And even though the XR before it had some incredible image quality, the 11 noticeably steps it up. This is particularly true with low light images, as the phone comes equipped with Apple's new built-in night mode, and though it may be pretty late adding this feature, as other smartphones have had night modes for quite some time now, you gotta give it to Apple for first-time quality. The images taken in low light are some of the best I've seen, more natural and balanced than most, and it's so reassuring having this feature on this phone. Video quality is also terrific, probably the best video shooting capability on any smartphone right now, and the stabilization is pretty insane. I gotta say, I really feel as though the new iPhones are noticeably ahead of the competition, and if you pair that with the significant improvements Apple is making overall, it makes a stronger and stronger case to be considered top in class when it comes to cameras. Now, I think the major takeaway here is that the iPhone 11 provides all these new and premium features, which are exactly the same on the Pro models, at a considerably lower price. Now, $699 isn't cheap, and I'm not one of those that would dare categorize this as a budget phone, but that price is way more accessible to everyday consumers than the $999 starting price of the iPhone Pro, and you get 95% of what the Pro has. To me, the iPhone 11 is a flagship phone, and using it for the past month has only solidified that position. It's a smart, fantastically well put together device, and it crushes the iPhone Pro in terms of pound for pound value. But look, at the end of the day, I totally understand that these are just my thoughts, and I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys agree that the iPhone 11 is a value lover's dream when it comes to iPhones, and really positions itself as the clear better buy when paired against the iPhone Pro? Or do you think the Pro lineup has enough added or better features that justifiably makes it a better phone, even with the $300 premium? Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. Okay, that's about it for this review. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you guys found it useful, it really helps me out. If you guys have any questions about the iPhone 11, leave them down in the comments and I'll be sure to get to them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.